Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another video here at MT Paradise. So as you see in the title above, this is a video on how much it costs and kind of like the practicality of owning a Porsche, especially a heavily modified Porsche. It's more of like the what is it actually like. So as you see, the garage is a little packed. I got my Jetta sitting right here as well as my Porsche. On the other side of a bunch of stuff going on, I'm doing a project, which you probably don't care about, but let me just go ahead and show you anyway. All right, so I have a ton of bags of Quick Reels, an entire pallet. The main reason you guys are here is because of the Porsche. I'm gonna be going over what it's like to drive this thing. I used to actually have it as my daily driver, so what it's like owning this thing, and let me go ahead and get started with a nice cold start. And due to the heavily modified exhaust on the back of this thing, if you live with people and you start it in the garage, it's going to be insanely loud for anybody in the house. But yeah, also for your neighbors and stuff, it's probably going to be super loud. But let's go ahead and hit you with that cold start. Alright guys, so I totally messed up on that one. I forgot to hit the record button in doing the cold start. So I got it warmed up and everything. Let it sit there for a few minutes. I wanted to go hit the button again to stop recording and found out it wasn't recording the whole time. But you get the point, the car is really loud. I'm going to include a previous cold start right here. Alright, so you guys agree that this thing's pretty loud. Just sitting at idle, I think it sounds amazing. But yeah, you can tell it's pretty loud. So one of the first things with living with a crazy modified Porsche is it's a loud car, and a lot of people are either gonna love it or they're gonna hate it. So far, I haven't had too many issues with people complaining about it being loud. A lot of people love it, and they say it's loud, they say it's insane. So that's kind of the goal I was going with, was as loud as possible. So I do have to go run a couple errands, which I'm gonna take you guys with me so you can hear the exhaust on the road in action. But it is kind of rainy, so that's another thing I want to point out is living with a car like this, depending on your tires, you have to be very careful. Back when I was daily driving this thing, tires are nice and fresh, I was always nice and careful, and the car is really light, especially that front end is super light, and it can skim across the water a little bit, kind of hindering your steering depending on how fast you're going and how much water's on the road. But that is something you do have to keep in mind, is the weight of something like this compared to like a Jetta and the types of tires you use. I use Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, which are really good, especially since they're all-season tire and a performance tire. Alright guys, so right now I'm kind of driving it like a normal civilized person, where it's at cruising speed, it's not bad at all. Give it a little bit of gas. It has a really good hum to it. I absolutely love it. If you have other people in the car that aren't a fan of loud cars, they're probably not going to be having a good time. But in addition to obviously the loud exhaust, this car looks insane, especially with that rear wing sticking up in the back there. But this car gets a lot of attention, go anywhere, and people either love it or hate it, but they're still looking at it. A normal Porsche is going to get you a lot of attention and looked at a lot, but whenever you have one that looks like a crazy race car and massive wings sticking out the back, a lot of people are going to be staring no matter where you go. Alright guys, so here's a nice good acceleration. Still in normal mode. Here it goes. Ooh, just love the way this thing sounds. The engine's still kind of warming up, so I'm not in sport mode yet. Not being super aggressive, but yeah, this car just sounds amazing. I just love the sound of those shifts. Like, ooh, got a little bit of the burbles there. Man, I just love this car so much. Like, that's the other thing, is it makes me so happy. Like, the sounds that come out of this car, the performance of this car, it always makes me smile. And then now we're in sport mode. You can hear some more burbles. Woo, got some good pops on that one. Man, every time I drive this car, I just have the time of my life. Like, I just love this so much. And It's just so exciting. Alright guys, so I just got back to the house, and I don't know if you can really see it on camera, but this car is filthy. It ended up kind of looked like a heavy mist. The roads are all wet and muddy, and then this thing is now super filthy when it was spotless. So I don't know why I didn't just take my Jetta. But, oh well, for the sake of the video, at least you guys got to hear the exhaust. But you guys didn't necessarily come here just to hear about exact custom things on my car. You kind of want to know about like different costs, like obviously the upfront cost, maintenance cost, all that kind of stuff. So now I'm going to break into that right now. All right, so when it comes to Porsches, like obviously you know that they're expensive when you look into buying one. They're pretty pricey at times. So that's going to be your biggest upfront cost, is just trying to find the cost of a car. Mine, I paid a little bit more so I can have the Sport Chrono heated and cooled seats. And so there's a lot of factors that go into essentially like the value of a car, especially like the wheels. These are like the Carrera wheels. So I think they look amazing, and this exact spec is how I wanted to buy one. So that's going to be your biggest upfront cost, is obviously the cost of the car itself. And when it comes to maintenance, I pretty much do all the maintenance myself. I have everything kind of stockpiled right here. Got a bunch of oil, got the Jetta and the Porsche, bunch of different jack stands. I do have a jack somewhere around there. It is. Bunch of chocks, oil filter for the Jetta, and then the oil filter right back there for the Porsche. Alright guys, so when it comes to cost of, like, let's say an oil change, I have all of the stuff that you can see right before me, and it looks like a ton of stuff, and it's going to be super expensive, but the majority of this you might already have, and if you don't, it's going to be stuff that you use time and time again on any car. Like I use the majority of this stuff on my Porsche, but also on my Jetta. So a lot of it, like for example, the oil catch pan, this one's a little bit more expensive than some, but for me, it's a lot more helpful. Let me show you some of these things. It has this funnel that pops out. It has little extension arms. You can screw it in right there, and you can raise and lower it pretty much based off of your car. And then when you go to pour it back into a container like which it came, you just unscrew it from right here, and you can pour it right in and go take it to dispose of. One of the biggest costs of doing an oil change after you buy kind of like the initial stuff you're going to need is the oil. So it's the Mobil 10W40. I actually have links in the description down below to all of these products you see before me, and there's going to be a few more things down in there, but all of these you can find on Amazon. So go down the description, you can click on those links, and that's the best thing about this car is there's a lot of stuff for it on Amazon. I looked at getting a Maserati Gran Turismo when I was kind of looking at what I was going to get. And for the Maserati, the oil filter, for example, it's a few $100s because it's from Ferrari. I spent 15 bucks on a K&N oil filter, and it's on Amazon. And just like everything else, link in the description down below so you can go pick up your own oil filter, because 15 bucks is way better than hundreds for like something such as a Maserati. But also you're gonna need this little tool. I think it's like maybe like 10 bucks. It's an oil filter housing removal tool with a little extension arm. This is like a little 3-pack. It was super cheap as well. Different socket sets, so you can pull off a bunch of different size lugs and an oil drain plug. This pack came with the drain plug, as well as there's like 5 or 6 little crush washers. And this right here was also super cheap. Torque wrench, different jack stands, obviously a socket set with wrenches, some wheel chocks, which I like these because they're nice solid rubber. They're not going anywhere. They're pretty good weight to them, and I enjoy these. But whenever you do your initial oil change, for me, I think it was around like maybe like $100 once I bought the oil that I needed, oil filter, like some of these initial tools, especially with this little pack right here. Once you buy that, you're set for, I mean, your next 5 or 6 oil changes. One-time purchase right here, as well as these little extensions. These I use all the time for all kinds of other projects, so not necessarily this, but it's like $100 for my first oil change, maybe just over, maybe like 120 max. But from here on out, every time I need to do an oil change, it's 15 for the oil filter, and then whatever I get the oil for, I think it's like 20 something, I think it's like 25 bucks or something like that. For a 5-quart, I need 8 quarts for this car. So I usually get 2 of these, and then it has little notches on the side. Instead of wasting money on those individuals, I can just kind of keep an eye on how much I'm putting in the car. So every time I do an oil change, I'm looking at like maybe like 50 bucks to do it myself. Everything's super easy to do. And I have a video in the description down below of the actual video of how to do an oil change on this car. So if you guys have one and you want to learn how to do the oil change, it's super easy. It's not that complicated. I'm not a mechanic, and I was able to do it no problem at all. I learned a few little things along the way, but yeah, it was actually a fairly easy job. So when I initially looked at buying this car, I knew that it was going to be a daily driver, so that's why I went with a Porsche versus like something like a Maserati, because I could do all of the maintenance myself, and especially with the $15 oil filter and then just getting the oil itself, that's not much. So being able to do everything myself is actually very affordable and very easy to do, and it makes it so much better for a especially a car this expensive to be able to run it on a daily basis if I wanted to, if I needed to. And it's actually not bad at all when it comes to just regular maintenance. Another thing when it comes to maintenance is the brake pads and calipers. I had to replace these when I first bought the car. They were pretty rough. It was a few $1,000s. I did not go through the Porsche dealership itself. Went through actually a brake shop who did a really good job. But pads and rotors, and it was, like I said, like a few $1,000s for those, but they do last a really long time. And while we're sitting here looking at the wheels, obviously I have the Michelin, what is it, Pilot Sport 4S's. These are really good. The fronts are 235 35/20s, and the backs are 265 35/20. So these are actually really good tires. However, you can wear them down fairly quickly just based off of your driving style. I don't know the cost of the tires off the top of my head, but I'll display those on the screen right here. If you are running this car on a daily basis, as you see, the rear tires definitely do cost quite a bit. The front tires, you're not going to be wearing them down as much, depending on like if you track drive your car or if you're just like super aggressive around turns, like whipping it and whatnot. But for normal driving, the back tires obviously are going to wear down a lot more, as this car is a rear wheel drive car. Just keep that in mind whenever you're like accelerating, or like, so let's say if I do like launch control, that's definitely going to put a lot of force on those back tires, causing them to wear down a little bit quickly. But when it comes to like maintenance wise, especially when it comes to like the oil changes, it is actually super cheap and very affordable to run this car, especially when you look at the overall cost and the name of it. But when it comes to like stuff like modifications, for example, that's a totally different story. So you guys see that I have it's actually a metal front splitter, as well as side skirts. And then when we go around the back, I have a custom diffuser. So a lot of this stuff is completely custom, because when I looked at the market for what was available, it cost way too much. Some of these parts are extremely expensive, and a lot of them are actually plastic. So I'm like, why pay thousands of dollars for plastic when I can source out local companies to make stuff like this, which I absolutely love this design. And it saved a lot of the cost. It was still pretty expensive, but in the end, it's still cheaper than putting on a plastic front splitter. And if I were to scrape this on the underside, it's going to protect the bumper because it's metal. Some other upgrades. So I mean, this is just additional costs that are kind of unnecessary, but just look amazing. Carbon fiber intake scoops. It does stick out a bit further, so you can pull in a little bit extra air into the intake. Engine intake and cooling, that's what these are for. When it comes to a giant chassis mounted wing, for example, a carbon fiber wing is actually a lot more expensive. Those are thousands and thousands of dollars. This wing is an aluminum wing made by 9 Lives Racing, and we actually wrapped it. So check out Apex Vinyl Solutions, it's our wrap company. But that's where all these graphics and stuff came from. It was just a plain silver wing, and it was just the wing itself. These uprights were also sourced locally here in Texas by, it's now CB Welding Solutions. So definitely go check them out. They did an amazing job with this chassis mounted wing. And it's not just the wing, it's the entire rear bash bar behind the bumper. So that had to be completely remade to then have plates welded on that stick out that this could bolt onto. So it was still, like I said, kind of expensive to make stuff for the car like this because it was custom made, but a little bit cheaper than going out and paying thousands and thousands of dollars just for something that's for looks, whereas aluminum wings are actually lighter than the carbon fiber. And for me, they're a little bit more practical. The curvature is a lot better. Actually has really nice curvature on the underside. And it's designed as an actual performance wing. Plus, I can slide out, it's a little gurney flap. I can slide out this little metal trim, put in a taller one if I need to for additional downforce. It's adjustable, so I can adjust the different angles. So stuff like this was definitely the way to go. It looks to me way better because I had a lot of say in what this looked like because I really wanted these little triangle cutouts, and they were able to put it in the CAD software, and it was all like CNC cut out. Like, it's so cool how it was done. But I also have a video of how the wing was made, so definitely check down in the description down below for that video if you guys want to see it. But yeah, if you buy stuff and if you buy a car like a Porsche, they always call it the Porsche Tax, where everything you buy for it is going to be extremely expensive just because of the name. That is true. There is stuff for the Jetta that was significantly cheaper that, like, for example, I don't have one on here, but a front splitter for the Jetta, like $100. Something very similar for the Porsche, you're looking at like $3 grand. So it's just insane from one car to another just because of that name on the front. If you got one and kept it stock, it's actually pretty affordable to run constantly. Like I said, the back tire is gonna be wearing down a lot, but the oil changes, stuff like that, super affordable. It's actually not as bad as I initially thought it would be. And the reliability of Porsches is really good. So when it comes to like kind of bigger maintenance items, I've had this car for about 1.5 years and I've had nothing wrong with it. It's been absolutely perfect. No issues, just like little tiny things here and there. Like I said, when I bought it, the brakes were bad. I had to get new tires initially, so that kind of sucked. It is an amazing car. It's actually not that expensive to constantly run and maintain. So if you're looking into cars, I highly suggest Porsches because, like I said, the reliability and cost of maintenance is not bad at all. But you do have to watch out for that Porsche tax because that'll get you. But to answer one of the biggest questions I have about my car is everybody always asks, do you have social media? And sometimes I'm just like, I don't know, like maybe I should plaster it on my car somewhere. Like, I just kind of want people to know what my brand is, and I just kind of want people to have an idea of what my social media is. So maybe it might be a good idea at some point to probably put it on my car, such as there, 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 and there. I don't know, guys, like honestly, I get that question so often, it's unreal. And I purposely made the car so that no matter where you stand, you see my social media at least twice. There's not one place on the car where you can stand where you don't see it twice. But maybe there's too much on the car. I don't know. I love it completely cluttered. But I just love it completely cluttered. Like, look how awesome that looks. Like, it looks like an actual race car, all the different sponsors, brandings, which are pretty much all my branding. But yeah, like I just honestly love the look of the car with just like the crazy design, the branding all over the place. But pretty much all of that is on my social media. If you guys see this car in person, definitely go check out a lot of these different, like Apex Vinyl Solutions, Wrap Company. When it comes to MT Paradise YouTube channel, that's what you guys are watching right now. And if you haven't already, definitely go down and hit that subscribe button. But also my Instagram's on the card too, so definitely go check out my Instagram and give me a follow. So yeah guys, if you like this video, definitely go down and hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button so you can keep seeing more crazy awesome videos with my Porsche race car. And if you guys watched this far, I really appreciate it. A lot of my videos are actually seen by, I think it's like 97% of my viewers are not subscribed. So definitely go hit the subscribe button, especially if you've made it this far. I really do appreciate it, and it really helps with creating more crazy awesome car content, especially with my Porsche, some stuff with the Jetta, which I have some upcoming projects for that, which is gonna be insane, and it's gonna be awesome. So definitely stay tuned for that. But as always guys, thank you for watching.